So talk to me. How you feeling ahead of tomorrow's game?
It's going to be a great atmosphere, great scene. I mean, this is a really significant game in the big picture of college football because Notre Dame can't afford to lose. I think that their at-large case would be severely damaged, if not completely done with a loss. Pittsburgh, as Pat Narduzzi pointed out earlier this week, has a little more room, but it certainly would help their cause. It would help the ACC. There's a lot at stake for them, too, and probably help their confidence going into those last two big games in conference coming up.
What was, there are a couple big matchups in the SEC. You've advocated for Battle of the Ravine. What maybe separated this game from those other options?
I think the stakes I just went over and the fact that, there's so much history here. Pittsburgh's such a great football city. Having Notre Dame come in, and Notre Dame is a major storyline because if you are not a Notre Dame fan and you are a fan of one of the other contenders for an at-large berth, you want them desperately to lose because they're taking a playoff spot, and deservedly so. I've been on record. I think that you have to consult the data. You have to look at the record. So I want the court to stipulate that. I understand they shouldn't be ranked top 5. But if you're asking me who are the 5 best teams in the country, Notre Dame's on my list. I think they're really good. But you have to back it up. So they can't afford to stumble again. So that was a big factor in coming here.
Rece, looking at Pitt, this is a team that's kind of had a peculiar path to this moment with the quarterback change, a true freshman that not really anyone probably knew who he was 5 weeks ago. Injuries, Kyle Lewis, Desmond Reed, the 2 returning All-Americans, missing time this year. Just what have you made from afar just watching Pitt arrive at this point?
I think they've answered their missteps very well. And they also, it was a really bold move because Eli Holstein played really well for them last year. And they made a bold move to change quarterbacks, and it's energized their entire team, it seems. Now, I did take a bit of a flyer, but I picked them to go to the playoff in the preseason because of all the guys they had returning, but also because of their returning quarterback, who I thought was going to take the next step. And he's still a really good player, but I tell you, Heinzel has been just a revelation for them. He's given them a spark. And I think they've put themselves in the position that every team in America wants to be in. You want to get to November and have a chance, and they've got a chance. And they've got 2 huge games coming up in addition to this one after this. And the opportunity, perhaps with a little good fortune, to make their way into the ACC championship game and be 1 game away from the playoff. And that's a remarkable turn of events given the loss at West Virginia and then given the quarterback change midseason and the injuries you mentioned.
Does it make for maybe a more interesting storyline when you have kind of that unorthodox path where it's your depth really showing up and you have a quarterback change, something of that magnitude that plays a big role?
I think it speaks well for the leadership both from the coaching staff and within the team. Because when things go a little sideways and there's some uncertainty, which inevitably comes when you change quarterbacks, sometimes people can splinter a little bit, and clearly Pittsburgh did not do that, and that's to their credit.
In this situation, last time College GameDay was here, you weren't hosting College GameDay at that time. Talking about the excitement personally you have being in this area, being in this city for such an important matchup beyond just the stakes at hand.
Well, I mean, I think coming here, I've got a soft spot for Pittsburgh because, of my long friendship with Mark May, who's one of the greatest players ever to play here. And so anytime, he and Lou and I would come here to call games or come here for some other reason, it's something that I always enjoy visiting the city. I've done games here. We were here for the Backyard Brawl a few years ago when they opened on a Thursday night. So it's been a great place for football over the years. So I'm really glad that we can bring the show here, and it's going to be a great setting. It'll be fun to go inside the stadium leading up to kickoff. So I think it'll be a tremendous morning.
It's kind of a homecoming for Pat, but he's also a West Virginia guy. What reception should he really expect?
I mean, didn't I see something on one of the streaming platforms this summer where he sold out an arena in about 17 seconds? Mm-hmm. I think the reception's going to be really good for him. It's, he's obviously done so much for the city and for his high school and for a lot of people around here and has such great regard for it. I think the reception will be just tremendous for him and deservedly so.
Is he ready for some ribbing about those missed kicks in 2007?
Hey man, I don't think we'll go there. So it's tough.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't hear out of that one ear. It's bouncing off the wall.
Yeah.
So coaches use a lot of techniques to motivate their team. What do you make about coaches' comments about losing by 100 points this week? I mean, what is the psychology, if there any psychology was meant behind that?
I want to give him credit for walking it back. You know, he walked it back a little bit. But I'm going to be honest with you. The first thing when I heard him say that, I was like, well, you know, he's not wrong. I mean, he's technically not wrong. But in terms of the big playoff picture, but I mean, you guys know Pat Narduzzi well enough. That's not the way he goes about his business. They're not going to come out here and say, yeah, okay, we'll wait on Georgia Tech, you know, next week and wait on Miami. He's going to try to win the game. But I think what he was, I guess, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about it, but my guess is he was trying to say, okay, big game day's coming. It's Notre Dame. That's a big deal anytime for Pittsburgh and for a lot of other schools. Let's remember the big picture. Let's just play. I think that's what he was going. He just chose a little bit of an awkward way to get there, getting beaten by 100. But like I said, the first thing I thought was like, well, I don't know that I would have put it that way, but he's not wrong, you know, in terms of their playoff aspirations.
What's your morning routine like before a college game day usually?
I usually try to get here 2.5 hours before the show. You know, you need to be prepared by then. But you might want to look over some stuff, and we pride ourselves on being flexible and being nimble with news that might break or ideas that people might have even up to the last minute. So you kind of want to just go over everything again. You know, I'll text my wife, text my family, and then we'll go out there and we'll be ready to roll. So it's pretty orthodox. I'll go out there and throw some T-shirts out before most weeks too. We'll get a big box of T-shirts. I'll climb up there with DJ Griff and, you know, kind of loosen up the wing a little bit, kind of gets the blood flowing, drain the lymphatic nodes and stuff, you know, kind of make sure you're ready for the show. So it's we try to have fun and make it loose and then take our jobs very seriously, but not ourselves. And so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
When the CFP rankings were released on Tuesday, there was some discussion about the ACC champion maybe not even getting into the field. How likely do you think that is?
I don't think it's likely, but I do think it's possible. And here's my thinking on it, and it's not really my thinking, it's just sort of the math and the way teams are lined up. Duke is a really good team who has this wild habit of somehow, you know, shooting themselves in the foot. Or, as my buddy David Pollock says, not only doing that, shooting all of their toes off. You know, so they've lost these 3 non-conference games, yet they control their path to the ACC championship game. It is primarily Duke and, sorry to say it, and Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh were to, say, lose 100-10 or whatever Pat said. If they were to lose 110-10 to Notre Dame and then still win the ACC, or if Duke still wins the ACC, maybe even SMU still wins the ACC, you're at least going to bring it into the equation because the likelihood is that the American champion will be ranked higher than the ACC champion. And potentially then if James Madison continues to win, potentially they could be. Not saying they would be, saying they could be. So that's the issue for them. But I think the real twist in it all is that if Miami still gets ranked high enough to be in at large, it's also not impossible for the ACC to get a team that is not its champion. And it's also possible for the ACC to get 2, because Miami might get in as an at-large, and then whoever emerges as the ACC champion would be one of the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. That's the thing people miss sometimes. It's the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. Almost every year, it will be the Power 4, so to speak, will be in that. But that's not in the rules. It's not guaranteed. If there's a year where one of those Power 4 champions is ranked lower than another conference champion, then they get in. So I think it's not likely, but I think it's possible.
What are some of the things about Pittsburgh and about the University of Pittsburgh that you guys, when you're doing your production meetings, that you wanted to highlight during the show?
I think just the consistency that they have. And I know that some people might not view it as consistent, but you start thinking about over the years the different things they've gone through with different coaching changes. And I even was talking to E.J. Borghetti earlier because we're going to do a thing about the greatest Pitt player at some point. And I mean, think of the great players that have been here. I mean, Hall of Fame guys, both in the College Football Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, very few programs can match the star power that Pittsburgh can roll out there. And they are, an indelible part of the history and the fabric of this sport. So I think you want to capture that, because I do think that, you know, with the attention on the SEC and the Big Ten sometimes, and with the ACC wheel of destiny and chaos, that some of those things that are really important to the foundation of the sport can get overlooked, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen. And with Aaron Donald being here, I'm told Tony Dorsett might be here too. So, you know, we're going to bring some of the stars back. So we want to make sure we capture all of that.
Coach Fisher talked about just the DNA that's in Western Pennsylvania when it comes to football, and even parts of West Virginia as well, and how it really kind of leaks into how dynamic football really is in this part of the state. When you look at being here in this area, what about this area really most excites you about what's ahead and what the energy is really going to be around tomorrow's game?
Well, I mean, they love it, right? People here love it. It's part of who they are. It's part of their DNA. It's part of the fabric. The high school games are important. People who come from here are proud of coming from here, no matter where it might take them. You know, there's always that connection that brings them back, and football is a huge part of it. And I think anytime we go to a place that loves it as much as they love it here, I mean, that's something we want to capture and want to be a part of.
Last question?
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.